Yo, what's going on, you guys? It's your man, the Grass Ninja. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're talking about the Rasengan Uzuhiko, Boruto's brand new jutsu that he has launched, or at least beginning to launch, at the end of Chapter 2 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. So to get you guys caught up on what's happening, Boruto basically says that if you don't withdraw your army of claw grimes, then Code, I will have to kill you. And then Code's like, nah. And then Boruto reminds him that I could easily kill you, right? So withdraw your army. And Code is like, nah. So Boruto, who's attempted using his Talk No Jutsu, has basically come to the conclusion that there is no saving guys like Code, and he's ready to engage him in what looks like a 1v1, right? So this is kind of like a rematch of their last interaction. But unlike Kawaki, who's already activated his Karma Seal, Boruto, not activating the Karma or the Jogan or tapping into any of Momoshiki's powers, decides to activate and use a brand new jutsu, his brand new Rasengan, the Rasengan Uzuhiko. Now, we don't know what this is, right? Off visuals alone, we see that he opens up his palm like he would any ordinary Rasengan, but instead of like some orb of chakra begins surrounding Boruto, almost like wind is spiraling around him, with some people theorizing that Boruto himself is the Rasengan, right? I've seen people make connections to, oh, it's like the Hyuga clan's rotation or Sasuke's Chidori Nagashi. But let's take it a step further, because we have to scale to the level of Code. Boruto says he's ready to kill this man because he's not withdrawing his army from Konoha. And this is the jutsu he chooses to use in order to achieve that. So, if we break down the Rasengan Uzuhiko, let's try to figure out what that translates to and see if there's any indication that we could pick up on that would scale to the level of achievement Boruto's aiming for. So, Rasengan basically translates to the spiraling chakra sphere. I've done a whole bunch of video covering a bunch of different variations of the Rasengan when we were getting prepared for the Minato one-shot. We know that the Rasengan was named by Kushina because it's inspired by the vortex, right? And then we have Uzuhiko, which isn't a real word. We have, like, it's kind of like a combination of Uzumaki and like something that could either translate to the universe, space, or like boy or young prince. So I've seen a lot of people try to translate what this could mean, since Kishimoto's technically just inventing a word here. I've seen people say it could translate to the thunder whirlpool. I've seen other people just outright call it vortex boy, because Hiko can sometimes be used to refer to as lad or prince. There's actually a lot of formality that goes into this type of translation if you go in that direction. Thinking of young lord, like how Boruto's formally addressed in Konoha by individuals, since he's the Hokage's son, much like how everyone would address Konohamaru as young lord as the third Hokage's son or grandson. Now, when it comes down to it though, there's actually a connection with Hiko and one of the Shinto gods that Kishimoto likes to play with when it comes to creating powers in this universe. The Shinto god of wind, Shinatsuhiko. Now, this is pretty dope because some translations of Hiko can be viewed as lad or prince, and it emphasizes the formality of the word because it's commonly associated with the Shinto god of wind, Shinatsuhiko. Now, in ancient Japanese belief, they believed that the wind was caused by the breath of a deity. According to the Shinto lore, Izanagi, the god of creation, created Shinatsuhiko from the breath of his mouth, right? Now, Izanagi in the Shinto lore is the creator god who created Amaterasu and Tsukiyomi from the tears that fell from his eyes, and the Susanoo from the snot and breath that left his nose, while Shinatsuhiko is the breath that left his mouth, the god of wind. Now, sometimes, right, in some cultural beliefs and rituals, rice farmers would actually erect shrines. They would create entire shrines to the god of wind, Shinatsuhiko, in order to try and pacify violent windstorms like typhoons from destroying their crops, farms, and property. So these people would literally erect shrines of the wind god to signal that they are believers. They're praying for his mercy so that he doesn't bring a typhoon on their land, right? So a typhoon is essentially a tropical storm synonymous with hurricanes, with the only difference between a typhoon and a hurricane being your geographical location. If you are up here in North America, think like Florida or Hawaii, right? Those places are hit by hurricanes. That's what they're commonly called. A typhoon is what they would call a hurricane in places like India or Japan, right? So on that side of the globe, they would refer to a hurricane as a typhoon, but if you look at imagery from satellites, they're the same thing. It's a spiraling cyclone of wind, sometimes hitting as high as 90-mile-per-hour winds that collect water from the ocean, creating extra storm clouds that can generate lightning. So these are super powerful storms created by wind patterns that form in cyclonic patterns, I guess. And this is pretty serious, right? Hurricanes can deal serious damage, and they named an entire Shinto god of wind being responsible for typhoons that would destroy places, right? Now, in Naruto, we have a chakra nature Kekkei Genkai dubbed as Typhoon Release that actually debuted in one of the novels, Sasuke Shinden. And in the anime adaptation, we see Sasuke fight against one of the users of Typhoon Release, Nawaki. Now, Typhoon Release on its surface just appears to be like an over-exaggerated wind release. It's an overpowered version of wind style. Now, Nawaki was so strong with his Typhoon Release that he actually forced Sasuke to use the perfect Susanoo in order to put out these typhoons. So the perfect Susanoo, being compared to the Biju, was required in order to stop these massive level typhoons created by Nawaki and his new chakra nature Kekkei Genkai. Now, while it's not officially confirmed what two chakra natures are required to achieve the Typhoon Release, it is still highly believed that Typhoon Release, like all the other chakra nature Kekkei Genkai, right, is a combination of two different chakra natures. Just like how Lava Release is a combination of fire and earth release, right? Or how Boil Release is a combination of water and fire, I suspect that Typhoon Release is the combination of wind and lightning changes in chakra nature. Since water and lightning have been taken up by the Gale Release, that's what Darui uses to power his laser circus, and how Ice Release is the combination of water and wind. The only combination we haven't really seen is wind and lightning, right? Now, with the Shinto god Shinatsuhiko being responsible for protecting people and creating typhoons, Typhoon Release being created out of the wind change in chakra nature and being capable of thrusting thunderclouds and shooting lightning and destructive capabilities on people's lands, it kind of makes sense. Now, why am I trying to connect the Typhoon Release to Boruto's new Rasengan? Well, let's just take a look at what Boruto's actually capable of doing with his other variations of the Rasengan, right? Boruto out here has created the Vanishing Rasengan, which he achieves by imbuing the Rasengan with a lightning change in chakra nature. This Rasengan can be hurled as a projectile, and it can also literally vanish, okay, to the point where even if you have clairvoyant powers like the Byakugan or the Sharingan, you can't see it, okay? It is an invisible Rasengan. And then he has the wind style Rasengan, right, which actually manifests this tiny little ring around the Rasengan of wind change in chakra nature. Almost like how Naruto eventually turned it into the Rasen Shuriken, Boruto has also just learned the basic wind style Rasengan, which can also be hurled as a projectile and is more powerful than your common Rasengan. But on top of that, he has the compression Rasengan, which he achieves by modifying the shape transformation of your Rasengan. Since he was incapable of supplying his Rasengan with enough chakra to create the Big Ball or Odama Rasengan, he went in the other direction and it pumped as much chakra as possible into a finite point to create the compression Rasengan, which Kakashi argues is more deadly. So what do we have here? Boruto can add lightning change in chakra nature to the Rasengan. He can add wind change in chakra nature to the Rasengan, and he can modify the chakra shape of the Rasengan in a way higher fashion, right? The Rasengan is already classified as the pinnacle of shape transformation, and then Boruto is being able to advance that pinnacle. So we actually don't know what Boruto's chakra affinity is, and this is important because whatever chakra nature you have an affinity for will be the nature you can create the strongest jutsu with. While it isn't impossible to learn the other chakra natures, Kakashi teaches us that whichever chakra nature you have the strongest affinity for will supply you with the strongest outcome of jutsu. So back in Shippuden, we saw Kakashi explain this to everyone, where he basically says that everybody has an affinity for one chakra nature. You can learn the others, but your chakra affinity will supply you with the strongest outcome of jutsu, and they can test what you have an affinity for with this special type of paper. If you imbue this paper with your chakra, it will react in a different way depending on your affinity. For Naruto, the chakra was sliced in half, right? Signaling that he had a wind affinity. For Kakashi, the paper would crinkle up and fold in a bunch of places, signaling that he had a lightning affinity, right? All we know for sure is that Boruto is highly talented when it comes to his change in chakra nature, right? He knows how to use wind, lightning, and even water release. He was able to use wind and lightning changes in chakra nature before even graduating from the academy. And all we know is that he's highly skilled and very talented when it comes to chakra nature transformations, right? And when it comes to creating these new Rasengans, right? He learns them incredibly fast. So all we know for sure is that Boruto has a new Rasengan, right? But based off of the visuals alone, Boruto opens his hand, right? Like he would any other normal Rasengan. Yet we don't see anything actually form. However, what we do see are spirals of wind chakra form around Boruto. And it actually surrounds his entire body, almost like he's cloaked in chakra or covered with chakra, okay? So, what if we take all the characteristics of everything Boruto's been able to do with the Rasengan, and then we combine it, and we add the extra boost in power you would get if you add your actual chakra nature affinity to a jutsu, right? So what if Boruto's Rasengan is there, but it's invisible, like the vanishing Rasengan, which is why we can't see it, even though his hand opens up like he's creating a Rasengan? What if the spiraling chakra surrounding Boruto is similar to the characteristics he acquires when he uses the wind-style Rasengan, but he's able to add it to his entire body because he's playing with the change in chakra shape. He's been out here playing with the chakra shape transformation of his Rasengan. He's able to compress it. Who's to say he's not able to stretch it out and surround his entire body, right? This wouldn't be the first time we've seen a Rasengan in Naruto actually cloak the user with chakra in this fashion. In Naruto The Lost Tower, this was a filler movie, but still, Minato and Naruto combine their Rasengans together and they create a huge, unstable Rasengan. Like the orb is shaking around and changing shape. It doesn't maintain its sphere-like quality. But this supreme ultimate Rasengan, which is the name, also covers Naruto in a cloak of wind chakra or just chakra in general, and it acts like a barrier ninjutsu. So while it has amazing offensive capabilities, this added cloak or barrier of chakra also gives him defensive capabilities, capable of blocking off projectile attacks while he closes in for the attack. So maybe Boruto has created something similar to the Hyuga clan's rotation, since we know they can release chakra out of all of the points on their body and then they rotate in order to achieve rotation. Or maybe it's similar to how Sasuke is able to perform Chidori Nagashi, where he surrounds himself with lightning chakra in order to subdue and paralyze close-range targets. This is actually an omnidirectional attack from Sasuke, right? And what if, because not only Boruto is able to play with the shape transformation, but he can add a new chakra nature affinity that he's been training with Sasuke to discover and perfect, right? Now, this Typhoon release Rasengan, right, adding all these characteristics to it, would be highly deadly, because for one, Sasuke's actually faced off against this Kekkei Genkai firsthand. He's probably the only person who's ever faced off against it and lived, so he understands the true power and potential it possesses. Adding this type of chakra nature Kekkei Genkai to a Rasengan would only increase its power even further. And remember, the base Typhoon release required perfect Susanoo to overcome, which was again stated to be relative to the Biju. So imagine Typhoon release imbued into a Rasengan that's being used at an invisible state that is also acting as a defensive barrier because Boruto's stretching the chakra around his entire body. This would be huge right now because we have to scale it to code, right? And we have to add the lethality required, since Boruto's saying he wants to put code in the ground, all right? He's done with code. He tried the talk no jutsu. Code's not having it. He says, I could easily kill you. And then he goes and activates Rasengan Uzuhiko. And the Uzuhiko might actually be inspired from the Shinto god of wind, Shinatsuhiko, right? This is literally a god people would erect shrines up to so that they could protect their lands from typhoons. So is it possible that Boruto hasn't actually discovered his true chakra nature affinity, and since his talent with all these different chakra natures might actually signal that he has an affinity for a chakra nature Kekkei Genkai? He's never taken that paper test to discover what his actual affinity is. He thinks it's wind, Sasuke thinks it's lightning. It could be a combination of the two, right? So I want to leave this one to you guys in the comment section below. What do you think are going to be the characteristics and the true usage of Boruto's new Rasengan, the Rasengan Uzuhiko? Again, we've got people translating this to mean the thundering whirlpool, all right, or the vortex lord. And it has connections to a Shinto god, Shinatsuhiko, the god of wind. So I wouldn't put it past Kishimoto to take advantage of all of the information we have here and create something crazy, bringing back Typhoon release from the novelization he helped write. And Sasuke, being the only person to ever witness it in battle, would be a perfect person to help Boruto learn how to use it. Now, I've been your man, the Grass Ninja, signing out. Peace.